underground office building.
Yeah. This is crazy, and you can add your. This is not playing.
I'm just gonna stick with that one.
I'll do this fake.
Is that a fake one? Or is that your real one?
My apartment don't be looking like this, first of all. I have at least 65 different wallpapers in my apartment, so it's not my apartment.
This is my backdrop.
Yeah, it's pretty. Looks like Michigan.
Yeah, it's Michigan. So, anyways, it's been so long. Like, literally, we used to talk every freaking morning. And then
COVID
from hell, COVID. And then we were stuck at home with the fam.
Yeah.
And then we didn't talk forever.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now we're talking at night, which never happens. I'm like 2 White Claws deep, so I mean, it's fine.
Oh man, ain't nothing wrong.
And Dave Ramseying it up over here, so we haven't turned on the air conditioning, and it's hotter than Hades.
Y'all are hardcore. We don't be with our thermostat.
Like,
we do.
You see, this is not sunburn. This is sweat.
Oh my gosh, I can't with you.
We're just back in it hardcore up here, you know.
Yeah.
Our population has freaking tripled during the summer, so that's been fun.
I mean, y'all are a tourist town, so that's good though, at least.
What was that? There's like a jet or something. Did you hear that?
No. There was an earthquake here yesterday.
Stop.
I mean, so they say. I've seen it on a bunch of people's Facebook, and it was like a 5 point whatever. I should know this since I work for a disaster relief organization, but I don't know what the levels of the earthquakes are. But there was an earthquake. I did not feel it. Some people said they did, but
Hashtag 2020.
Yeah, so it goes. Just let it keep coming.
I just feel like 2020 has been a crash course for change. Like, if you've never experienced change in your life before, here you go. And you better figure it out real quick.
Yeah, that's true. It has been freaking chaotic. Yeah, before COVID, we experienced a lot of change in our lives, both of us.
I was thinking about that. Like, I was thinking about, like, our chat about change and what it was going to look like. And I was like, if there's not 2 better people in this world to have this conversation right now. So it's been just about 3 years. But we went from working for the same company and chasing after all kinds of crazy weather to leaving those jobs, leaving those homes, leaving those towns, husbands changing jobs. It's been crazy.
It has been crazy.
And then 2020, it's like, well, if you hadn't had enough, here it is.
It has been crazy. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, do you want to talk about some of your change first? Because you're the one who kind of transitioned from our old job first.
Yeah, I mean, it was, we kind of knew it was coming just because Nick had been at the same duty station forever. So we kind of knew it was coming, but then it just came so fast. And even, like, I feel like the changes within the change, so moving and the Packers and all of that caused so much chaos amongst the greater change of leaving. And then not being able to close on our house as fast as we thought. Like, it was really chaotic. And I think it affected me in so many ways that I didn't realize it was going to, because I was so used to being so busy with work, having to pick up and leave or do whatever whenever it happened, and going from that to really nothing but being kind of a stay-at-home mom for a little while, which is something, but I just didn't have that sense of urgency all the time, I guess. And so that kind of really impacted me when we moved here, but I was just like, I mean, it's such a peaceful place here. That really helped me, but I don't know, it's been different. We went back to Tennessee last week to visit, and my whole goal of the vacation was not to have any plan, not to book my schedule out or anything, but just chill. And I was kind of like, I found myself again. It was kind of crazy. you don't really realize how much you miss your people and how much you need your people until you don't have them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good trip. It was hard to come home though, not because I didn't want to see Nick and not because I didn't want to be home, but it was hard to leave. So hopefully we'll come back.
Yeah, it's hard when you're comfortable getting out of your comfort zone too, and going back to what you're comfortable with.
Well, and it became home for Jacob too. I mean, we moved there before he was even 2. Mm-hmm. So that's his place, and to see him back in his element was so fun, just with all of his friends, and I don't know, it was great. But what about you?
So I changed jobs too, not shortly after you did. So we got married too. There was a lot of change, like
yes,
at a time.
I felt like y'all were just already married.
I know, it felt like it. So yeah, when you're going to respond to disasters, I feel like life flies by. So, yeah, got a new job because my husband got a new job, and then we got married. And actually, while we were on our honeymoon, I had the second job interview to prepare for on our honeymoon for the job that I currently have. So
remember that.
It was all fast-paced interview after interview. I had an interview like a day before our wedding. I had my second interview the day we got back from our honeymoon. And then ended up getting the job, which was great. And we were able to move to where we are now. And so we also had to sell our condo, and we had 2 sales that fell through. And then we finally sold it like 8 months later, I feel like. So here we are.
It was a process.
Yes, yeah. Glad that that's over though, and we wrapped that up, and hopefully the people living there are happy and love it.
Now you're just enjoying your 12 different wallpapers.
All my wallpapers in this nice apartment. Literally, I'm not even kidding. There is not one same wallpaper in any room. This is why I'm in this nice fake background. Yeah, so we had a lot of change. We live in this apartment now. We're just renting because we don't know what's next, and it's fun. And my husband, he coaches college football, so very similar to your husband, and we never know what's going to happen. So
yeah, it's how crazy different the jobs are, but how similar the lifestyles are. And sometimes I forget that with people, like, just because they're not military doesn't mean they're going through a lot of the same things. So kind of like I said in the intro, like, we all go through a lot of the same things, but just for different reasons. And I feel like our lives mimicked so much of each other's this past year, but we're so completely different in the same way. So I guess it's all perspective.
It's exciting too.
It is. Very exciting. I read this thing earlier, and it was this little kid, and somebody asked him, do you know why schools are closed? And he said, because they've all ran out of toilet paper. And I was like, it's so true, though. It's all about perspective and how you choose to let it affect you and how you let it flow through your life. Like, you know, the kid doesn't know much about COVID or what was happening, but he knew the school was out of toilet paper and that was important. So I feel like it's just a good way to learn about change. I don't know. I take little bits from all those things and probably think deeper into them than probably I should, but, like, it was funny as hell and true.
I just can't imagine all the emotions that they're going through and the confusion, just like for them and preparing for the children and wanting to stay safe personally for their health and then also the children's safety. I feel like it would be overwhelming. And, you know, I firmly believe that teachers are underpaid and they're one of the most valuable occupations in our country. And, you know, just the fact that they're putting their lives basically on the line to educate the youth, I think that that's important, and I just can't imagine.
It makes me think about, like, 20 years from now, what it's going to look like. Like, so if somebody asked me 5 years ago, what do you want your life to look like in 5 years, or what do you think your life's going to look like in 5 years? Well, this sure as hell ain't it. Like, I was not thinking about 2020. I was not thinking about COVID. I was thinking about, like, goals that I wanted for myself. But to think about 20 years or even 5 years down the road for these kids, what being off school for this amount of time or what a different education platform looks like for them, how that's going to affect their future. I mean, talk about change. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I never thought that I would live to see a pandemic, so this is, I think, insane that we're
right.
This
was not in my 5-year plan.
No, not neither. But, I mean, it's here. We got to roll with the punches, and it'll be interesting just to see, like, what comes out of this whole thing with, like, mental health issues and what positive things come out as far as being able to have, like, more telehealth accessibility and telemental health accessibility and those types of things. And online education, I'm sure, will expand. So hopefully more teleworking opportunities for people.
Probably to that one. Like, I need to telework.
I know. I think that there's a lot of positive opportunities that can come out of this, but I do think that there's some long-term effects that we'll have to handle.
Yeah. Well, I think that, like, going back to the perspective, it's not just the perspective of what you see in a change, but how you handle it as well. And I mean, you don't always have control over that, but to do your best and try to see the positive changes that come out of it rather than focusing so much on the negative ones. I mean, I think that's going to take us leaps and bounds. So, you know what else it got me thinking about? Okay, so we met 3 years ago, went on this crazy disaster relief journey, and like our lives have changed so much just in the 3 years. But to think about all those people that we've encountered and how fast their lives have changed, whether it's in 5 minutes or from a house fire or a week from a hurricane or whatever. I can't even imagine. I've had 3 years to process all of this change. Going through it in a week or a matter of minutes, I think I would definitely need some counseling.
Listen, I remember when I was at Hurricane Michael, and I was thinking that because that was like
in Alabama or Florida.
We
were in Alabama or when we were in Florida?
When I was in Florida.
Okay. And we were in Florida, but they separated us.
Yeah, we were completely opposite, but we're located. But yes, and I remember when I was on the coast and I was like driving down the coast and literally like you could look at a house and only see the frame and see through the house because there was nothing left. And you have all these people outside just picking up debris and doing the best they can. And I mean, they're moving, right? They're like workers trying to get things done. And your adrenaline's going when you're there, and it's so exciting to be helping. But I always had the feeling when I come back from deployment, like when I'd be like at the airport, like, wow, I just had to live this for like, 10 to 14 days, and these people are going to have to live with this for the rest of their life. Like, I just can't imagine the emotion.
Yeah, and you almost feel like I almost always felt bad coming home and like being able to relax, or coming home and being able to be comfortable, knowing I was so exhausted, but being able to like get caught up on that rest. But it always drug me even farther down. I feel like thinking about the people who were still there that we had met, or even the ones that we hadn't met, and that they were still grinding like every single day to get their life back on track as much as they could. I mean, I think we'd be doing the same if it had happened to us, but I just can't. It was tough. And then to be somebody that it happened to would just be devastating. So.
But I think it just goes to show you, like, it's all about how people handle change and adversity, and it's your attitude and your will. I mean, for the most part, yeah, and when we were deployed, for the most part, like, you don't see people that are feeling bad for themselves and having a pity party. It's more like, all right, what do we need to do to overcome this? And that's a really
pick the britches up and let's go. This is all we got. Let's make the best of it.
That's true. And it's awesome to see how people can come together in such a beautiful way in such a catastrophic time.
No, I agree.
Because, and especially like right now in our country, we have a lot of division. And this is the time when people need to love on each other and come together the most, is to, field and our country got together. That's just my 2 cents. It don't really matter, but
It does matter. It matters so much. We are divided right now. And like, I think we've always been divided in so many different ways, but now it's just, I guess, on a more of a public level, or we have more ways to communicate with each other now. And so it's more visual, which I'm grateful for, because we can see it happening. We can communicate, we can share our opinions, but we are divided. I mean, I will always cherish that conversation that you and Q and I had when I was sitting on my front porch that night, and I just called you and I was like, I need y'all to give me some real life talk right here, because like, you guys have such a great perspective, especially being an interracial couple, and everything that's been going on for decades, but that is now finally like being brought to the surface. But I think some of us just, not that we're naive about it, but just maybe that we haven't experienced it firsthand. And so you guys, like, being able to have a real ass conversation with me and be like, look, this is why, or these are things that are happening, or these are things that make us feel like, if we're not talking about those things, then how are we ever going to change, right?
For sure. And I mean, yes, I'm married to a Black man, and I don't have all the answers, and I don't know all the answers either. And I'll ask him things, and I ask my Black friends things that I might not know. I think that's the only way you like learn and appreciate people who are different than you, is to ask questions and appreciate their backgrounds and history and culture and where they come from. And that's how we can educate one another and just really respect each other's values, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody has all the answers. Like, you have answers that he doesn't have. I have answers that you guys don't have. He knows things that we don't know. But if we're not communicating, if we're not sharing our ideas and sharing what we've been through and sharing our changes and how we feel, then it's never going to change for the better. Like, I think you've got to go through all that hard processes to get to the change. And I think that's what we've seen a lot this year, whether it was COVID or any of the other 1,000 topics that have like actually been brought to the surface this year, like being able to make them public and talking about them. I know I've felt more connected to people in these past few months than I ever have. Like, even when I was in school with them every single day, I still felt more connected to them during this time than I think I ever have. Just because you have to be intentional about it. It's not just like something that happens. You have to be intentional about it. And I think for things to change, you have to be intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, here's the thing too, like I was talking to Quentin about this a few days ago, was like when you enter a new job, it's hard because it's change and you're kind of starting from the bottom, right? Where you're having to relearn everything and you feel like you're 20 steps behind everyone that's in your like network and you're with all your coworkers, because you're trying to just like speed yourself up and learn as much as you can. And it's like change is intimidating. It's hard, but you've got to like stick it out, because like eventually it's going to get better. And I feel that way, like just with what we're talking about with like the black and white, the Black Lives Matter movement, the Blue Lives Matter, like all lives matter, people saying all those things. And it's that change is uncomfortable for everyone, and being uncomfortable is good, because that means like something's happening inside of you. And so to me, it's like, okay, if you're feeling something internally and it's making you a little bit uncomfortable, maybe that's like right where you need to be at that moment, to be learning from somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, if you're comfortable, you're not growing.
Right.
So, like, the more uncomfortable you are, the more you continue to grow. And that's kind of where I'm at, is like, I think really having come back from Tennessee last week, like, I'm always trying to grow and figure myself out and learn new things about myself or what's going to better myself. But coming back from Tennessee and realizing like I needed to start doing some things to like make myself a better person rather than doing for everybody around me. Because if I do for everybody around me, eventually I'm going to get burnt out and I'm not going to be able to take care of anybody. And so it's really been kind of fun to just like self-discover, I guess. And I found that I was really comfortable. So I have to like be extremely intentional about making change in my life. And so that's kind of where this all blossomed from. Is a lot of people have been asking me to do it for a while, but I was just like, I'm fine. Like, I don't need that. I don't need that. But I think after coming back and figuring out that I was so comfortable, I think I really did need it. I think I needed an outlet. And after posting kind of the first introduction last week, a lot of people reached out to me, and it's fun but meaningful at the same time to see like how many other people need it too, and they don't really realize that they need an outlet. It'll be fun, and I think like this will bring a lot of change, hopefully, in other people as well. I had one person tell me she just felt like I was talking right to her, and it kind of made me stop to think at first, because I'm thinking, well, I was just introducing myself. But if you don't have somebody you can connect with, and you don't have somebody who can just hear you out, or you feel like you can connect with, then how are you ever supposed to change yourself or change others? So this is me being super uncomfortable sharing my whole entire life with everybody, and my like personal conversations with my friends, just because I want other people to feel like they can get something out of it and they can change too. So
I think it's a good thing. And listen, if you're impacting one person, I mean, that's one person's life that you've touched and you've made a difference, honestly. And one life is better than no lives, right? So,
well, we've always talked about like, what do we want to do forever with our lives, right? Like every time we're on the conversation about
don't ask
or what we want to do. Dave Ramsey, or what business are we starting? And what's it going to mean? I think the thing that both of us always had common ground on with what are we going to do with our lives is it has to mean something. And I don't know if this is what I'm going to do with my life, but for now, this is what I'm doing with my life, and it means something. So for me, that's a positive change, and it doesn't have to be a forever change, but it's a positive change for right now. But
you'll never know where it will lead, you know?
Yeah, I might be making t-shirts that say "You betcha" on them, or "Oh, gotcha."
Oh, all those northerner things that you say.
You didn't even know it was a thing. You were like, I've literally never heard you say that. And I was like, because it's so normal. Like,
well, you know, they're probably people watching this are gonna be like, oh my gosh, why the hell does Kaylin's voice sound like that? Because she's so southern, right? People
are gonna think I sound normal.
I know, they're gonna think you just sound like bougie, right? Like, I'm not joking. Once they hear me, but you know what? I'm gonna embrace it. When we were deployed, everybody made fun of me for my accent. I've learned to embrace the southern.
Like, where are you even from? Because people from where you're from do not sound like you.
Yes, they do. So I'm from Southwest Virginia, not West Virginia. I'm from Virginia in the little southwest corner. I'm like on the Tennessee state line. I live near Kentucky now too, but we're still in Virginia.
And everybody sounds like you there?
Oh yeah, some sound, you know.
Listen, I had this guy come into the store the other day, and he walked in and he was like, "Oh, y'all carry Vineyard Vines," and I was like, "Oh, you're my people!" Like, you said "oh" and "y'all" in the same sentence.
Oh my gosh, I do say y'all, but I do try to like use the right vocabulary words, and I try to do the best that I can, Katie. Okay, I really do.
I love it. Well, I have to tell a story because I feel like it kind of makes us realize how comfortable we are in our lives, and like when we're forced to change, it's kind of like this panic of, oh shit, what am I supposed to do now? But like, I'm gonna figure it out while I go along. So you remember that one time when we were at the gas station?
Oh my gosh, yes.
So Hurricane Michael again, right? And we're in Alabama. I can't keep them. Yeah, Alabama. And we got there after having drove from Florida.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
People at the gas tanks that were saran wrapped.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Okay, so we get to Alabama, and the morning after we get there is like hurricane day. It's when it's coming. And we're staying at a hotel, and we're like, oh my God, we don't have food. We don't have water. What are we going to do? Like, how are we going to eat? We don't know how long we're going to be in here for. And so, like, at moment's notice, going from being really comfortable with our lives to being completely thrown off guard and having to change, we figured it out, and we drove around for probably at least a half an hour in flooded streets, right? Which I do not recommend to anybody.
No, I have never seen so many things closed down. Ever.
Walmart was closed.
Yes, we missed like the curfew or whatever, and so the gas station was all bad.
So we pull up to this gas station that had like a line coming out, like it was all in between all the lines or all the aisles in the gas station and coming out the door. And we're like, all right, we're going to get water, water, wine, and snacks. Gas station water. So I think both of us had our hands completely full of stuff, right? And you made me laugh. So stuff kept bouncing off of me onto the ground, and I'm like kicking it down the aisles to the cash register. And you're like, okay, I checked out. I'll wait for you in the car. And then the lady, so you leave me in there by myself. And the lady at the register was like, oh, you work for so-and-so? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, everybody give a round of applause. She's here to help. She works for so-and-so. And I'm like, what? And nobody did anything. It was like crickets up in there. And I'm like, I'm going to kill her. Like, she left me. I felt like you were just a getaway car.
With this big ass bottle of wine. Here to
with no bottle opener.
Yes.
With no bottle opener.
Oh, that was an
But it was. And it was kind of like, over the past 3 years, we've been forced to make big changes, but over a long period of time. But I think what I really took from that one time in Alabama was, like, it doesn't matter if you have a long time to make the changes or a short amount of time to make the changes. Like, you just figure it out as you go along. And I think that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now, is I'm just living in 24 hours. Like, obviously some things have to be planned out, but, like, it's just not that I'm getting through the days. It's that I'm enjoying the days without having to worry about everything else. We get through this day, we enjoy it. Let's make it through the next 24 hours, and we'll see what comes of that, while still setting goals and, like, trying to better myself. But, like, change happens, and you just got to figure it out. Like, you can't just give up,
Oh, yeah. I think that's a good mindset to have.
All right. Well, you over here, the one without any kids that needs to be in bed by 9:45.
Listen, I'm trying to get myself back in my routine of getting up early around 5 a.m. and working out. Girls got to have a routine.
Yeah, making those positive changes.
It's been a great conversation. It's been good to catch up with you finally. I feel like, COVID has just really screwed up our schedule. So this has been.
It has. It's weird that it's like, I'm used to talking to you in the morning when I'm in the shower, and I like prop my phone up on the counter, and I'm like, what'd you say? From like underneath the water when I'm getting ready for work.
But you know what's so crazy is, so when we were working in the same job, we lived in different time zones. But this is nice because we're in the same time zone now, even though we're like in different places. But
it's another positive change.
Well, we come into Michigan.
Hey, hopefully we're not going by then.
That's true too. Well, we come wherever you are.
All right, come on, girl. And then maybe I'll come there.
That would be good. That would be lovely.
Well, my friend, you better get to bed so you can work on yourself in the morning.
Okay.
I love you. Thanks for joining.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.